Gem International is a new diamond explorer in the richest diamond producing country in Africa, located next to the fourth largest producing diamond mine in the world. International Spotlight is on an 1109 carat diamond recently discovered in Africa by a fellow Canadian junior with a proven operator and finance team. Gem International trades on the TSX Venture Exchange, symbol GI. Visit us at gemdiamondmining.com.
You're listening to HowStreet.com radio, available online at TalkDigitalNetwork.com. Welcome to HowStreet.com radio, the online source for market opinions. Here is Jim Goddard.
My guest is Martyn Element. He's a Vancouver marketing and corporate advisor who focuses on sourcing and pursuing new business ventures and opportunities no matter where they are in the world. Martyn, you're fresh back from the London Mines and Money show. What was your impression there?
It was very good. Very high-class show, which is what they specialize in. And it was well attended from all over the world. I met a lot of friends from Switzerland and Germany, of course a lot from the UK and Canada. There wasn't a lot of Canadian companies there, but there was a smattering, you might say, and some of the big Ross Beatties of the world were there, and some of the big wheels were there. Of course, Rick Rule was there speaking. I didn't see him myself. So it was exceptionally a busy show. So I also thought that it was quite interesting that there was actually a lot of money, which I think being spoken for, and think deals were being done. And, you know, we had gold coming off right the week during the show, before and during. However, well offset with the really good numbers starting to show in iron ore and in copper particularly. And of course that last week the price of oil was rising at quite a clip too. So it was bricks and bouquets, but show was great. I enjoyed it. I'm glad I went. Specifically, I was interested in lithium. There was quite a lot of activity on that. And I think they had a special day on the Monday before the Tuesday opens, specifically geared towards that particular metal, lithium, which was interesting, and it continues to be interesting. I had a lunch meeting with the owner of Mines and Money on Monday, which is another reason we sort of held back the show a little bit, and he was saying that they were very, very happy with the results of the show. And he was explaining just how these shows are growing at the clip that they're growing at. He was explaining about the Hong Kong show. I think he said 7 years ago they went into Hong Kong, and the first show was sort of gross numbers $250,000, and he says now it's an $8 million show. It's the biggest attended show that I thought that they have in the organization. And, of course, they just recently expanded into Toronto as well, which they were very happy with the results there. So, but they're also gearing up because they have numerous publications under the same heading, and they also are gearing up a lot from digitalizing the whole business, and that's the background of Alex Kent. His background is Microsoft. So he is bringing in the Aspermont company into the age of the internet in a big way. A fascinating gentleman he is, charming, and I can just see Mines and Money just getting bigger and bigger as the years go by. And I know I'm certainly hoping to attend the Hong Kong show myself, and they've even suggested there's a possibility of me speaking at the show. Now, that will be interesting whether that transpires, but I would love to do it. I do enjoy speaking, so that would be fun. So, yes, the Mines and Money show 216 was a success, and I predict that we're going to hear more and more and more about Mines and Money around the world. And it's expensive to attend. He was explaining to me that I said to him, well, the food was exceptionally good at the lunch times and things. He says, well, you know, we don't want people having to leave the venue, and we want to look after the patrons, and a huge percentage of the people there are spending about $5,000 just to attend. So he said, you know, we have to give back, and we're appreciative of people paying that kind of money to go. So it was a great show for me personally, and what the business I was doing there. Very, very happy with the results, and I think it was great. It was great all round.
The people that you chatted with, we know Brexit was predicted to knock a hole in the UK economy, but then it would pick up. Is that the kind of sign that they were talking about?
I think the answer is, Jim, they're spending. The Brits are spending. They're putting money into things. Friends of mine are doing a deal down in Cornwall in the tin business, and I just listened to something on that this morning. I didn't realize it's been producing for 400 years, which means, of course, it was tin and tungsten, the South Crofty mine. And, yes, there's money around, and I guess the answer is they're not keeping it in their pockets and worrying about tomorrow. They're thinking tomorrow's going to be fine, and they're spending. You've still got the press, particularly a paper that I have a very high regard for, the Pink Financial Times, and you've got a lot of the industry, the newspapers, London-based newspapers, are still coming out with these stories and trying to paint the picture very bleak and from a business front. But I think that so far the economy and the stock exchange and the employment figures and everything is saying to them, no, the BritX so far so good. But Mr. Carney has been very vocal in the last few days. He spoke from Liverpool, which I thought was interesting. He didn't speak from London. He spoke from Liverpool. Liverpool is one of the few cities outside of London that voted to stay in. I mean, there's a real strange bunch of people in Liverpool. I mean, and I'm from around that area myself, so I'm not being too personal or critical, but they really are not the run of the norm in Liverpool. It's a very, very hot Labour, more left than Labour area in many sense. And they voted to stay in the city of Liverpool, which I think was one of the few unique cities in Great Britain outside of London, as I was saying. So he spoke from there. Whether that was intentful, I don't know, because he is still pounding and saying that he thinks that this BritX is going to be a mistake. It's going to be expensive. It's going to cost a lot of money, and he didn't say it's not going to work, but he's been very, very vocal. But part of his points are very valid, of course. He's saying it's going to be expensive. Well, it is going to be expensive to get out. But the markets and the immediate effect, Jim, is still very, very positive for BritX, and it leads me into the next thing that I know you're going to ask me about. Is last weekend when I was there, Jaguar announced their electric car, and they're talking about 10 to 11,000 jobs in the Midlands of probably up in Liverpool as well. But I think it's a new plant they're going to be building in the Midlands. That's a lot of people being employed, and that's a lot of dollar commitment. And I think we're going to see more and more announcements like that. So Jaguar is definitely not owned by an Indian group, the Tata Group. They are not thinking negatively. They're not saying, you know what, we're not comfortable building here. We're going to be setting up our new electric plant in wherever. They're very comfortable, thank you very much, right in Great Britain, along with a lot of other announcements being made of endorsing the space. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. One of the points that Carney did make, which people forget about when they, like me, they get excited about driverless cars. And we did talk about it the other week, saying, well, there's over 200,000 truck drivers in Canada, and a lot of them are going to be unemployed in the coming 10, 15 years when these driverless trucks start to hit the road. And the same applies, of course, in industry, in these factories, that the robotics are going to be taking over. And Carney was making, in one of the points in his speech, one of the cornerstones of his speech was that the middle class, working middle class, are going to be decimated as we go forwards. And I don't disagree with that. From mechanic, from a lot of jobs that are done within the factories are going to become obsolete with robotics. So I think he has a major point there and I don't know. It's one of the things, by the way, that Mr. Trump is going to have to deal with. I mean, part of his stature was, of course, to bring back the car plants. Well, moving them to Mexico and saying, well, if you want to go to Mexico, go right ahead and we'll charge you 30% when you bring those brand new cars back in. We're going to ding you. Well, it's not so whether it's Mexico, India, or Timbuktu. these car plants are rapidly, probably one of the areas most advanced of all is in robotics. So, unemployment is unemployment. And I think that we all forget just how our lives are. We are witnessing as big a change as the Industrial Revolution. And I've said that before, and I think I'm very accurate with that statement. That's what we're living. That's what we're seeing. And it's going to be very, very painful for certain people in certain jobs.
Right, when we switch from horse and buggies to cars.
Yes, and when we moved from, spinning jenny, from making fabrics and cloths, from those huge warehouses particularly up in Yorkshire and up in Lancashire, where there was just, as far as the eye could see, these huge factories, and it took away from people that were knitting or people that were doing things by hand. And it was Industrial Revolution, the age of mechanism. Yeah, and you're right. Yeah, the car and the steam train, and we are experiencing that in a whole different genre, but we are experiencing it, no doubt about that.
We'll have more with Martyn Element right after the break.
I'm Larry Ray, President and CEO of American Manganese, Inc., listed on the TSX Venture, ticker symbol AMY, A-M-Y, with proprietary patents in the U.S., China, and South Africa. Our focus is on recycling lithium-ion batteries for electric vehicles. China recently legislated the responsibility for recycling onto their electric vehicle manufacturers and importers. For more information, please visit AmericanManganeseInc.com or phone me, Larry Ray, at 778-574-4444.
Welcome back. We're speaking with Martyn Element. It hasn't received a lot of press here, but Italy's referendum, the proposed changes to government there failed, and the prime minister has had to resign. But their banks are in horrible shape. What's going to happen when they actually collapse and fail?
Well, they won't, they are still part of the European Union, and you will see some banking arrangements will be done. But it'll be very painful. It'll be very, very painful for Germany and who seem to be steering things there in the EU and France to get their checkbooks out or to support the problems in Italy. Now that the reins have been taken over by, I haven't actually seen it in print, but you have to think he's probably leaning towards leaving the EU. But of course, they're in no position to do any bargaining or anything at the moment. But I think it'll be a really, really tricky, interesting few months when that whole situation starts to be addressed, as it's going to have to be. And I think a lot of people were surprised that gold hasn't done better on the back of the problems in Italy. And same way that, of course, everybody, such a huge percentage got caught with their, wrong thoughts regarding the Trump, especially the gold people. And so far, so good. He's proven them all wrong, but you've still got a lot of naysayers on the wings, on the sidelines, saying, it'll never work. Gold will still go. I read a report today, 2 reports. One was Ambro Bank saying they thought that gold could see new lows in the very, very near future and calling it for lower. And then, just as strong, you have a very successful fund in London, the old Colonial Fund, which is really specializing in gold and silver and precious metals. And the head of that, Ned Taylor Leyland, Taylor Leyland. I haven't met him. I was supposed to have a meeting with him about 2 months ago, but somebody else went along to that meeting. I wasn't able to make it, but he is saying just as much. He's saying that he thinks that Trump is in a nutshell, I'm summarizing, which is sometimes very dangerous, but he's basically saying he doesn't think Trump is going to work. His policies aren't going to work to a great degree, particularly on the interest rates. He sees inflation getting away, and that he thinks gold is going to go again. So you've still got, some very powerful thoughts and some very powerful people with completely opposite ends of the spectrum. And it'll be interesting to see how those hands play out, too. Of course, all the gold fiends, a lot of the gold people, are almost willing Trump to fall on his face and fail and willing Trump to have problems because they want to get back on the gold wagon again. There's a lot of people in my business that just play that. They really do. very dangerous game to play in life, of course, when you put all your eggs in one basket. But a lot of people do that. They don't play different deals, and they now have been for about 3 weeks now paying the price dreadfully, and continue to. Although gold, as we speak, is up a little bit today. But it had to. You know, it hasn't really had even what we call a dead cat bounce, but I think it is today a little bit. So, no, it's very mixed times out there. And still, although the big board, of course, is going to record highs, and the U.S. dollar keeps going up and up and up, well, sometimes, somewhere, surely that has to kick in as a negative for America, because the exports are going to be worth, are going to cost that much more. When they're trying to sell something. Of course, in the UK, you've had the opposite happening there. The currency has gone down and the business has gone up, but currency is picking up a little bit now. But it's, it all comes back down to these things that we say a lot. A lot of it so much is politics, and you can't get away from that. Politics is very much part, and it's very much part of the cycle, of the financial cycle, and it can make huge differences in anything anybody's doing.
Well, Trump is making all these tweets, making all these executive decisions. He hasn't even been sworn into office yet. We've never seen anything like this.
Well, I'm thinking that just this morning, exactly what you just said. Yes, it's strange. It's a strange phenomenon. Like, he's saying that one thing I read there was that the old previous government was ordering a new two new airplanes for the government to be flown around in what do they call them, Air Force One.
Yeah.
And the prices and the dollar figures were like billions of dollars for two airplanes, and Trump has said, well, I'm scrapping them. They weren't even planned to be delivered for $225 or some obscure date or something, But even so, he says, I'm scrapping those. We're not paying that kind of money. We can do a lot better than that with other people. And poor old Boeing stock came off 1%. I don't know what 1% is of Boeing, but I wouldn't be surprised if it was $1 billion drop or something on the stock. I'm probably selling Boeing short there, but I'm expecting. I'm expecting things to get very rocky here as we go forward, and you're right, he's carrying on as if he's already in power, which is strange.
I've never seen that before.
No, I don't think I can remember seeing that either, so it'll be interesting. And of course today you've got all the these high court judges in court that voted to said that we are not, it's unconstitutional that they're doing, and they don't think that the vote is valid of the people, and of course the government is saying, you're kidding me, of course it's valid of the people. So you've got a battle going on in court, and the judges are saying, and the upshot of what they're saying is, of course, that BritX, it's staying in. So it's a high stakes game going on here, very high stakes.
Martyn, thank you for talking with us.
Thank you so much for allowing me on to the show, and I'll see you in a couple of weeks.
My guest has been Martyn Element, a Vancouver marketing and corporate advisor who focuses on sourcing and pursuing new business ventures. You're listening to HowStreet.com radio. Find us on Twitter at TalkDigitalNet. Questions can be sent to info@HowStreet.com. I'm Jim Goddard.
Comments made on HowStreet.com radio are an expression of opinion only and should not be construed in any matter whatsoever as recommendations to buy or sell any financial instrument at any time. Available online at TalkDigitalNetwork.com. HowStreet.com radio is a production of HowStreet Media Incorporated.